Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with Jay Gordon Duncan. And if you're wondering why the J, the answer is I'm not a bagpipe player. And if that joke doesn't make any sense, I encourage you to check out episode 0, where I explain that joke as well as the purpose of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. Well, friends, you can see that I'm in the home studio. It's just the way life has been lately. I can't wait to be back in the studio with Shane Dell and the lights and those kind of things. But when necessity creates the opportunity for me to be here at the house, then I'm going to be in the home studio. But I'm always glad to be here with you. And as you can imagine, I'm incredibly excited about this episode. But first and foremost, I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for watching, for the likes, the comments, the growth of the podcast. Again, guys, we're going on over 5 years. It's absolutely amazing. I never want to get tired of thanking you because I could not do any of this without you. And you consistently show up every single week. And what I've got going on this week and next is a part 1 and a part 2. Now, what I want to talk about this week is I want to talk about personal branding. And I want to talk about personal branding for business growth. I've talked about these topics before, specifically when I highlighted the rebrand that Capitalized Marketing went through over 2 years ago. We launched as a company called Concept to Profit, or CTP, and we fell in love with that idea. And my encouragement to everyone was, don't fall in love with your first idea, and we did. But we had eventually realized it just didn't communicate. It was difficult. People couldn't remember CTP, it was just a mess. So we went through a branding process. We paid for a coach, went through the whole thing. We did what we do for our clients, but we got outside help because we needed some objectivity. And we changed the company to Capitalized Marketing and Consulting, and ultimately created Capitalize Your Best. Capitalize Your Best, you can see behind me now, I'm wearing my Capitalize t-shirt, long sleeve hoodie, which is one of my absolute favorite things. And I want to talk about personal branding for business growth. So first and foremost, thank you, everyone. But I want to tell you before we get into it, and I've got 3 points for this week's episode and 3 points for next week's episode. I just want to let you know that if you're not building a personal brand, you are specifically hindering the opportunity for your business to grow. When you create a brand and you go all in on that brand and you develop around that brand, your business will grow and your revenue, both business and personal, will grow as well. And when you don't, and first of all, it's got to be a good brand, but what I'm saying is you've got to create a brand that communicates. I'm not going to get into the 3 points yet. But when you do that and you go all in and you don't abandon it, everything around your work and your business, your coaching company, your branding company, whatever you are, whatever you may be, centers around that. I know too many companies who create a brand and then don't develop it or stick with it. So sometimes the name of their company doesn't even make sense because they never emphasize it and there's never played out as part of what they do. But my encouragement is when you create a brand, you have to go all in and you have to develop it in terms of what you do and the products and the services you offer. And when you do that, your brand will grow. So without any further ado, I've got 3 points. I've got a few notes here. I try not to use notes, but this time I've got a lot written out for you here and I don't want to miss a thing. So let's hop in. If you want to develop a personal and business brand for business growth, point 1, you have got to define and develop your brand. If you're taking notes, number 1 is you've got to define what that brand is, and then you have to develop it. Too many people make the mistake of coming up with a catchy name or a catchy idea, and they think, hey, that'll be a great brand. It might be, but if you aren't developing it and you haven't defined what it is, it's not going to help you. It's just maybe a catchy name. I drive around all the time and I see on the side of trucks or I see businesses that their name is something catchy. It's like a play on words, and you can feel like that maybe they just got the idea one day and they go, hey, that's what we're going to be called. Great, but you've got to develop it. It's got to be defined. So first of all, it's significant because you've got to differentiate yourself from everyone else, the other entrepreneurs, the other business owners, the other authors, the other coaches out there, whatever your specific market is. If you create a developed a developed brand, you will begin to differentiate yourself. Because listen, we are a marketing company and we're marketing coaches. Along the way, we do smaller things in there. We have tributaries that break down in there. We do course creation and we do lots of other things within that. But who we are, we're marketing and marketing coaching. Now, we are differentiated because there's not a lot of marketing coaches out there. There's tons of marketing companies. But when we differentiate who we are by being capitalized, and we help you capitalize on what you do best, and we go all in on that, we begin to separate ourselves. They're like, what's the difference between you and any other marketing company? What's the difference between you and any other marketing coach? And we'll say, well, listen, there's a lot of us out there, and a lot of people do great work. What we do is we help you figure out what is absolute best about you. The thing that if people knew it and understood it, they'd be more attracted and attractive about what you do. And then that would help them find you. Because I hear business owners say, these comments have actually been said to me, if people only knew this about us, they would do business with us. Well, that's it. That's the best that people don't know. And so when you figure that out, when you figure out what is that thing that's absolute best and unique and distinct about you, what separates you from everyone else, that's what you create your brand around. Not just a catchy slogan or saying or something you came up with. That might work. It's only going to work if it highlights what is unique about you. So you've got to have something that's specific and great about you. That's going to differentiate you from your competition. Then you've got to find a way to express it in terms of the theme of the way you live out your business. You've got to express that in your logoing, in your branding, and even more importantly, it's got to be part of your story. I mean, part of my story is I was a pastor for 20 years and I loved being a pastor, but I also knew that I had the unique skills of marketing and coaching. And all the while I knew I loved being a pastor, but that part of me was not being developed and grown and expressed. And I realized that I could make a broader impact on the world with what I wanted to do when I was able to express that through marketing and coaching. So that's what I did. I went into that arena. And so now I get to help other people bring out what's best about them. You see, that's my story, and my story expresses my brand. Capitalize your best, and it plays itself out in every single thing we do. That's what you've got to do, is you define and develop your brand. What is it that makes you different from everybody else? What distinguishes you from your competition? And when you figure that out, then develop your brand around that, not just a catchy slogan. So the first thing about a personal brand to grow your business is to define it and develop it specifically. Don't fall in love with your first idea. I've told you that before. We did that. Concept to Profit did not express our brand well. It could not be communicated well. Even my co-owner and other people involved with it sometimes got CTP, CPT wrong. You want to make sure, that you have a brand that expresses who you are and it's expressible. So expresses who you are, what's best about you, and it's expressible. So and by the way, if some of you take this to heart, some of you are going to wind up changing your brand, and it's okay. Brand changes happen. Okay. All right. Number 2, you've got to build a consistent online presence around that brand. A consistent online presence. I know people that create these brands and then they post about it for about a week, and then they just go back to what they're doing. You've got to go all in. It's got to be capitalize your best, capitalize marketing. And then as we expand into other lines, it's got to be capitalize this and capitalize that. Everything we're doing is trying to bring out the best in other people, whether it's the best of the marketing, the best in our coaching, even down to our line of capitalized coffee. Everything is capitalized. We work with eye care, and we're doing capitalize your best eye care. And somewhere down the line, I've got a personal coaching brand that we've come up with. We got the logos and the branding and everything for capitalize your best life. We haven't gotten that yet, but that's down the road. You've got to go all in on your online presence, and you've got to stick with it. You've got to highlight it, and you've got to emphasize it over and over and over again. And then you've got to figure out what are the online platforms that you can best express it through. I'm telling you guys right now, you really need to, if you're going all in and you're going to blast it out there, you've got to be on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, minimum. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and those have different personalities. You're not putting the same information on TikTok that you're putting on LinkedIn. And then you've got to differentiate between what you're doing on Facebook or Instagram. It can't be all the same thing. But when you do that and you go all in, you got to go all in with your personal brand. When you are telling people about your business and about what you do and your product and service, it's got to be an extension of your brand. And that's what you just flood the market with. And you do have to flood the market because there's so many people out there and they're not going to find you. So you've got to find out what's best about you. You got to find out what's best about you. You've got to create a way to express it. And that's in your name and in your slogans and in your logos. And then that's got to seep into your products and your services, and everything's got to be thematic. And then you've got to just flood an online presence with it. You don't have to annoy people with buy for me, buy for me, buy for me, but it's got to be consistent. I mean, when we changed from capitalized marketing a little over 2 years ago, that was brand new. And I had already spent 2 years working on CTP, concept to profit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all in like never before. And that's when I decided to start doing daily videos. And I've done daily videos now for over 2 years, sometimes 2 and 3 a day. And these are 30 to 60-second videos. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be on these platforms. And I'm going to be there every single day and to give people content, and they're going to learn more and more about this. And I look at this and I go, I can go even deeper. I can go even further. I can go even greater in expressing who we are. You've got to decide again what's best about you, express it in a brand, in a logo, in a slogan, and in your products and services. They've all got to be concise and they've got to be consistent. And then you've got to blast it out. So you've got to define and develop the brand. And then you have to go all in. You've got to just build an online presence, a consistent one. And then three, you've got to leverage networking and thought leadership. This is really important. These things go together, okay? You've got to leverage networking and thought leadership. I see people go to a lot of networking events, and I go to a lot of networking events. I become very specific. I'm going to them when I feel like I can contribute and when I feel like I can meet someone new. I don't go to ones over and over and over again when the same people are there, because it doesn't do me any good. They know me, I know them. If I'm going to the same people over and over again, that's social. My social life is different than my networking life. So, but you want to go to leveraging places where you can network through thought leadership. Now, let me explain. So I've got my notes here. I want to make sure this is right because I put some details in, okay? Now, networking and thought leadership means that you're going to places where you can express who you are, and you're around people who are thinkers, who are professionals, and that you can learn from. The old adage, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You want to be practically the least smart person in the room. You do. If you're the smartest person in the room, you should be having a seminar. That's different. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're leading a seminar. You need to be going to networking events that have real thought and substance attached to them, where you can be learning from others and you can be expressing specifically what you do. Like, for example, you want to go to places where there's opportunities eventually for you to speak, but you're around other people to speak. It takes a long time to learn earn the privilege to speak. You want to go to places where there's opportunities for people to have conversations and presentations about things you know nothing about. And after you've been there long enough, and after you've contributed enough, and I'm talking months and months and maybe years, then maybe you get the opportunity to position yourself as the expert in your field. If that's not part of the networking that you're a part of, then you don't need to be there. You're just meeting people. Meeting people is important, but you want to be meeting with people who are consistently smarter than you, where there's a sharing of ideas and there's a challenge of each other to be professional, to be smarter. Because when you're in those arenas and you're expressing your brand, people see your brand as significant. Your brand is playing a part of that networking and thought leadership. It's not just, hey, I do this. You want your brand to be contributing to the overall conversation. That's different than just networking and going somewhere and getting a beer or an after hours drink. It's going somewhere where you get to contribute. Okay, so those are our first three topics right now, okay? We've got You've got to define and develop your brand. It's got to be what's best about you and differentiates you from everyone else. Then in number two, you've got to go all in and you've got to create a massive online presence. And then three, you need to network with thought leadership, places where you can contribute, but even better, you can learn from others where your brand plays a part in the conversation. And when you do that, you're going to begin developing a personal brand, and you'll be known not just for your name, you'll be known for your brand. And you want to be known for more than just your name, because you want to build a business, not just a product, not just catchy saying, you want to be building a business, and businesses have brands. And so friends, if you do that, this is part one, your branding is going to play a part in enabling you to grow your business and then eventually move that on to greater personal revenue. All right, friends, that is episode one, part one of a personal brand for growing your business. Again, define and develop it, make it be what's best about you. You want to go all in on online presence. And then three, you want to network where there's thought leadership. If you do that, you're going to be well on your way to building a personal brand and growing your revenue. All right, friends, we'll see you again next week. I can't wait to see you then. Thanks so much.